Welcome to my world. Come on in and make yourselves at home. Welcome to my life. I know everything's gonna be alright. Welcome to my world. Oh, won't you come on in? Welcome to my life. It's known as the Tiger's Den. Greetings to all of my subscribers. I want to thank you for being with me for as long as you have, and the new subscribers that's coming on in. We want to say greetings and thank you for your time. This is from Toothless and the moderators. Welcome to the Tiger's Den. This is the voice of Cheryl, and I am Toothless Tiger. Greetings to all in the bushes and the trees, on the sand in Belize, in the cruise ship, the sky, wherever you may be. Greetings. I took a minute off, and take minutes off quite often lately. I had some people that were dear to me that transitioned from this life to the next, and just didn't feel like talking. When you see how people are here one day and gone the next, and you see the plight of our people and what we value, even though I love assisting other people, it makes it very hard to continue to talk to a people that are not there. They're affected by every system that's unjust, but the people are not there. They have no voice. Everyone is waiting on a savior, yet they live in total hell. For me, that's kind of painful. And I don't expect for everyone to think like I think or feel what I feel. For I know too well that no one can feel what I feel. And neither can I feel what anyone else feels. But we have likenesses. and experiences that happens to us all. And when I think of the Casual Killing Act, and of course, nowadays there are certain words that I don't know if they're forbidden to be spoken, because I've searched and searched YouTube guidelines to see what words can we not say, and they don't really give us the words that we substitute here on YouTube. But today I'm going to be bringing you a story, and it's about two men that were executed in less than 5 days of each other. Both of the men crimes are questionable to the point, whenever you receive the death sentence, you get an automatic appeal, and it has to go through all of the circuits before your time is up. So sometimes that takes years, many years, and some people not so long. I don't know what the determining factors are that makes one case go quicker than the other. You have some people been on death row for years and some for a year. So I don't know the determining factors. But what I do know is when they're going through the appeals, and I believe those attorneys work diligently and faithfully to try to help their clients. As they go through the appeals process, sometimes information come out that proves that this person that's being accused, because you're not actually convicted and accused until all processes are over. Now let's get this understood. I could misunderstand that. I'm not an attorney, I'm not a lawyer, and I don't give legal advice. I just give my interpretation of the things that I read, and I do read quite a bit. So it's possibility that my interpretation of a thing could be far different from what is, or even your interpretation. Some people are for the death penalty, some people are against it. I am a person, I believe in justice, and I believe in justice by any means necessary. But then you have to start breaking down and defining justice. It's easy to say what you want to happen to someone else when it's not your loved one. But if it's your loved one, then it's a possibility that the way you feel about a situation may be different. Some people not. Some people, it could be different. I don't really know anything about these young men, but what I've been hearing as I've been looking at different things on YouTube and just read their articles. And I think it's such a time as this when the news media, especially the social news media, because we really don't get news anymore. And one of my hopes and thoughts was that when we have this opportunity to have a platform, we would do more educating of our people. And that's just a pipe dream of mine. There are many people out here educating, don't get me wrong. Trust me. I look at some brilliant people every day. But my hope was that we would talk more to our issues and perhaps talk about think tanks and, you know, teaching people how to become lobbyists and defining what lobbyists are and the role that they play in the laws that are being made in our states and in our federal houses. But of course, again, that's just my dream. And I dream a lot. Daydream, sleep dream, whatever dream. I'm a dreamer. And I hope for things to be better than they are. But they're not. And it's okay. But I wanted to talk about these two men. I really had planned to talk about this very disrespectful individual in the DA's office who attacked one of my sheroes, Ashley Merchant. He attacked her in the courtroom. Very, very nice, nasty attitude. And he thought he was articulating so well. But he was just making an ass out of himself to me. Just looked like a plumb, starnated fool. The things this lady is requesting of them is public knowledge. And to go on and on and on about how and why and what I told you I'd never do and you're disingenuous, none of that had place in the courtroom. So I was going to do that. Then this circus of a trial with Attorney Love, who has lost her mind. I think she's zip up the back ready. And in case you don't know what zip up the back romper room, you know that rubber room that they put you in this jacket? She appears to be at that stage. Her dishonesty is criminal. And I tried to sound the alarm and, ask people to file complaints. And nothing is going to happen overnight. And I don't know that people are not filing complaints. But it is my suggestion, and I will drop the link in the chat a little later, to file a complaint against this type of behavior. Judge Whitaker, I can't quite figure her out. One minute she seems like she wants to do the right thing with the power that she possesses, and then the next minute she seems that she cowers down to Love and her antics. I don't know how those young men do their job every day, but I want them to know that I appreciate the effort that they put in doing their job, defending those young men. I think America should be outraged, but of course, again, that's just one woman's opinion. One thing I found is sensationalism works, and people love to laugh at other people's pain. They don't really want to do anything about it, but talk about it, and perhaps it takes them out of their pain. I don't know. I know this used to be fun for me coming on here, and I said I would do it for as long as it's fun for me. Sometimes it's not fun anymore. And the fun I'm talking about is the good feeling that I feel knowing that I am helping maybe one person. And just when I decide I don't want to be here anymore, I think I'll just go and keep looking and not sign on. Somebody new will come in the chat and thank me for doing what I do. And so that keeps me coming back. It does. And I appreciate that. So I realize that as I watch people grow exponentially, and I mean, I've seen people grow from they were not even a channel when I started covering some of the YSL trial, and now they're at 10 and 20,000, and that makes me smile because these people are very gifted and talented. I wish I had the ability to edit or do the drops. It's just, I have a system, but it's too complicated for me. I would need somebody that really knows how to do it to be sitting with me to show me, because my mind is a little discombobulated, so it does not compute. And all of the trying to look at the YouTube videos, and I don't get it like that. But I'm so very happy, and I really enjoy looking at many of the creators that are covering this trial, because we have some great people covering this trial and other trials. My son was telling me about the young Dolph trial and how sad it is on what's happened to him, young Dolph. And I haven't tuned into that yet. I'm still saddened by Jeffrey Williams, who's alive and in a cell because the gatekeepers are vindictive and they want to win at all costs. I think this young man, Mr. Zachary, helped those who may not have seen and still may not see to see the past of these young men. He just happened to be one with sickle cell. And believe it or not, he's the first male that I know that had sickle cell. I had a cousin, and then I know other people that have sickle cell or had it because they're no longer with us. And it's a very, 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 very painful, debilitating dis-ease. So much so that when you're a baby and you're diagnosed as a kid, your life expectancy is not much, even though most live to be a ripe age, even over 50. And then a lot of times they're put in the hospital because they have pneumonia a lot. They call them crises, and they be in excruciating pain. Now imagine having that kind of illness and then being told that you have these other issues and being put on psychotropic drugs, then being taken off of those drugs, and then start a life of self-medicating and a life of crime. That happened to a lot of young men in urban developments. May not be an excuse for their poor decision and poor choices, but it certainly is a reason. These two young men that I'm going to talk about tonight, I don't know a lot about their past. One guy, they do talk a little bit about it, and that's the young man, Freddie Owens. Now, they said at the last minute, some, I guess, co-defendant came and did an affidavit and said that the guy wasn't even there. But it didn't make a difference because he was denied a stay. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about him, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about Marcellus Williams, who was the more popular one that, you know, the Innocence Project and a lot of people try to help stop that execution because of some of the things that has been discovered in his case, which was a little different from Mr. Owens' case, because Mr. Owens, he now is, the guy is saying he didn't commit the crime that took him to prison, but while in prison, he did unalive a young man. So let's get started. And anybody that comes in, please hit the like button. And if you choose not to share, that's fine too. If you would just hit the like button. Hey, Phyllis, I just came in and seen your wording. I'm trying to find my thing so I can hit the like button and cut this down. For some reason, I don't hear the music anymore. Did I cut it down so low? No, it's just, I don't know why I don't hear it. Oh, they got something new, fade track in and out or something. I don't know what that is. Let me try this and see if we can hear something else. But I think I had this one. Yeah, I had that one. I don't know what happened to the music and why it went away. But anywho, I'm trying to say hey. You know, some of this too is because, not because of the individual that, you know, bullies me to this day. But, you know, sometimes you just get tired of that. And, no matter how you know, move forward. I'm up here looking for Phyllis and just spoke to Asator. But whatever. And I'm speaking to Asator like I'm in his chat. I have all this stuff saved. And I just cut and paste. And I meant to say the other Asator, but hey, some of his people come and visit me too, so I'm talking to y'all too. But yeah, sometimes, you know, you just get tired of this. Especially after losing loved ones, you know, and knowing how short life is and how people play with lives as adults, and it's just not funny. You just didn't come here for that. And I understand people come and go because I don't really stay on one specific topic. And some people are just interested in what they're interested in, so I don't hold it against anybody. Because I really do this for me, and so I'm going to do it my way. And I understand that people don't or are not into whatever I'm into. I don't have no ill feelings. Trust me. Life is too short. One thing I learned is the AAA. I adopted the AAA. And my AAA is acknowledgement, acceptance, and action. And it's all about how you view things. So you got to go through the process of living because life truly is a journey. And it comes with a lot. It really does. And if you're not willing to face yourself and learn your shortcomings, forgive yourself, and move forward, life can really be ugly. But life is really beautiful for me in my personal life. I don't do much. But I enjoy what I do. Just what justice only for some. Yes, it depends on what side of the fence you're on concerning justice. Girl, some folks just want junk. And that's true. And there's nothing wrong with you junkers. It is nothing wrong with that. Because sometimes I like a little junk. Lately, I've been stuck in China and Korea looking at my little movies, and I love them so. And I spend a lot of time doing that in between watching Williams or KB. I listened to a talk tonight with Doug on X. And Doug is the Honorable Doug Weinstein. And it was really good because my shero, Ashley Merchant, the Honorable Ashley Merchant, was the guest speaker. And she talked a little bit about the criminal injustice system and why she is a defense attorney and why she does not want to be a prosecuting attorney, a DA of any sort. And it's amazing how we all know and see. And she said that a lot of the laws in Georgia are draconian and are believed just has not changed since the 1800s. And we know what the 1800s did. The miseducation of the Negro is what they call it. You know, animal husbandry training, docility training for animals. We didn't get education. And here the song is gone off again, so I don't know what's happening with that song. I honestly can't tell y'all. It's maybe something new in YouTube. I don't know. Yeah, I don't understand what's happening with this music, but I'm not going to worry about it. I don't know if I have the loop off. And maybe that's what's happening. I honestly don't know. But anywho, as I was saying, that she was talking about those laws. And it's amazing how everybody can see it, but nothing is done about it. And I think one of the reasons things are not done is because the people of each state don't realize that we are a republic form of government where the people rule. And the people chose people to represent them. Because nobody wants to talk to, a million people. So you choose a person to represent you. But they got to be representing you and your ideas and your thoughts. And the way you do that is you research and learn the people that you're choosing to represent you. You look at their past work and what they're currently doing to see if that's somebody that you want to support. That's how it goes or that's how it should go. It may not go like that, but that's how it should go. A lot of people want to hold on to the democracy, and I really don't like hearing that, because if you study history, you know that in 1871, the Organic Act of Congress, which came up with the democracy, I call it the demonocracy, which is the majority rule. And we know that that fluctuates and changes according to who's doing the counting, if we are accurate in the majority or not. But whatever the case may be, we have a mess, and we as a people are affected. The Asiatic American are affected most, and everyone knows it. But our conditions have not changed. We have two candidates that's running for president, and everybody is arguing over who's going to be what and who mean what and why they said that and whatever. But not one of them are speaking to these people that were innocent of the crime that put them on death row. Possibly. We don't know that because they were convicted as guilty. But when you have an appeal, that's not a final conviction. Therefore, all of this that's been going on and everything that's been discovered, you have the actual DAs that convicted these people were for them being saved and the case re-looked at. But not so. A lot of this stuff is political. It's definitely hegemony. But they must give us something to keep us divided so it looks more racial in nature. But that's the facade, and we got to understand that, because we see the gatekeepers in the YSL trial, and those women that heads that team look like a sister or a mother or an aunt to these young men. You know, we learn by images and looking. That's how we relate to things. Most of our lives, the majority of all of the television shows have been people that don't look like us, but yet that's who we had to look to get an image of whatever the image is they were portraying at the time, because we've seen many images on the television. But most women today, if you look at them, they all want to be blonde. They all getting injections in their rear end and in their breast, lips. Some are going so thin it's unhealthy looking. And they laugh at us that gain weight for whatever reason. Most people don't understand or know why people gain weight. Most people gain weight because they have medical issues. But who cares about that? You just look fat and nasty is what they'll tell you. And just make fun of you. They don't know what you're going through. Same with the person that's very, 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 very small. You don't know what people are going through. You can't look at a person and tell what they're going through unless they show it to you. But all of that is just a way to keep us divided. Just a way for us not to come together and try to help one another. Try to lift up one another. And that saddens me. I can't save the world, but I certainly would love for the world to be better for a lot of us. My world is not too bad. It ain't all that great, but trust me, it's not too bad. So let's go with South Carolina. That's where Mr. Freddie Owens lived once. And I got this story from Fox 4 News. So I'm going to read this and then I'm going to play the little video that they played. South Carolina executes first inmate in 13 years. Freddie Owens dies by lethal injection after courts reject last-minute emergency appeals. South Carolina Supreme Court upholds state's 3 execution methods, including firing squad, by Amanda Shaw and Justin Dougherty. Published September 20th, 2024 at 6:01 p.m. CDT. Updated September 21st, 2024 at 2:51 a.m. CDT. Greenville, South Carolina. Fox, Carolina. And that's the news station. South Carolina has executed Greenville County killer Freddie Owens, the first inmate to be put to death by the state in 13 years. Owens, 46, died by lethal injection on Friday, September 20th, nearly 3 decades after the murder of convenience store clerk Irene Graves. His final meal consisted of 2 cheeseburgers, French fries, ribeye steak, 6 wings, 2 strawberry sodas, and a slice of apple pie. Fox Carolina anchor Justin Daugherty was a media witness to the execution. Daugherty said at 6:35 p.m. the warden gave permission to proceed with the execution, and the curtains opened between the execution chamber and the witness room. This was delayed from the initially scheduled time of 6 p.m. while officials awaited word from the U.S. Supreme Court. That's Mr. Freddie Owens. Photo courtesy of Associated Press. Minutes before the execution moved forward, the U.S. Supreme Court denied an emergency stay of execution appeal for Owens, and Governor Henry McMaster declined to grant any form of clemency. Owens was in a green jumpsuit and lying horizontally with a white blanket up to his chest. An IV was going into his arm from another room. Owens did not give any final statement. Daugherty said in his final moments, Owens had a soft smile and did not appear to be in pain. He held eye contact with his defense attorney and mouthed words to her that were unclear. In the last moment of consciousness, he said bye to his attorney. Between 6:37 p.m. and 6:42 p.m., Owens appeared unconscious, but slowly nodded his head and exhibited shallow breathing. Owens did not move at all between 6:43 p.m. and 6:53 p.m. At 6:53 p.m., a doctor did a wrist check of Owens' pulse. She then used her stethoscope, and at 6:55 p.m., Owens was confirmed no longer with us. Afterward, an official with South Carolina Department of Corrections said, "The case of South Carolina against Freddie Owens is complete." Owens was 19 years old on Halloween night in 1997 when he committed a string of robberies. Irene Graves, 41, was a clerk at one of the convenience stores he targeted. Owens reportedly became angry with how long Graves was taking to open the safe and shot her in the head. Irene Graves' file. Owens was convicted of Graves' murder in 1999. In the 24-hour holding period between his guilty verdict and sentencing, he unalived cellmate Christopher Brian Lee at the Greenville County Detention Center. Lee was detained for a traffic ticket. So he did eventually, according to them, take someone's life, and that's Christopher Brian Lee, was sharing a cell with Freddie Owens at the Greenville County Detention Center when he was unalived. And I'm just going to use unalived because of all the other words I'm using. And I don't know. I think we should read the article like they go, but I did that once and they didn't approve my video for monetization. So you just never know what's going to happen with YouTube. It's their platform. I do my best to respect it, but I also want to bring a story that is written the way it is written. Newspaper.com, the Greenville News, that's where they got that information from. Family members of Graves and Lee were present for the execution. They stared at Owens throughout the process. In addition to anchor Justin Dougherty, the other media witnesses to the execution were Jeffrey Collins of the Associated Press and David Ferrara from the Post and Courier, Greenville. A spiritual advisor and a member of the Greenville County Solicitor's Office were also present. A last-minute innocence claim from Owens, co-defendant during the robbery where Graves was killed, did not stop officials from carrying out the execution. Stephen Golden signed an affidavit the day before the execution saying Freddie Owens was not the person who shot Irene Graves. This is Stephen Golden. Fine time for him to tell it, isn't it? He said Freddie was actually not there. Isn't that something? Stephen Golden, the co-defendant pictured here, who testified against Freddie Owens during his murder trial, is now saying Owens was not the person who shot and killed Irene Graves in 1997, Fox, Carolina. Golden said he was high on cocaine and marijuana when he was arrested on November 11th and questioned by police. At the time, he signed a statement saying Owens shot Graves in the head. He also testified against Owens. We see that a lot, people saying one thing and changing their mind when it's coming to trial. But this man has waited, almost decades before he decided to tell the truth the day before the guy was due to be executed. It's sad all the way around, to be honest. He also testified against Owens during his murder trial. Multiple courts said Golden's affidavit contradicted numerous previous testimonies and Owens' own admissions. A member of Owens' legal team, Gerald Bo King, chief of the Capital Habeas Unit for the Fourth Circuit in the Office of the Federal Public Defender for the Western District of North Carolina, released the following statement. Freddie Owens, and this is a quote, did not kill Miss Graves. His death tonight is a tragedy. Mr. Owens' childhood was marked by suffering on a scale that is hard to comprehend. He spent his adulthood in prison for a crime that he did not commit. The legal errors, hidden deals, and false evidence that made tonight possible should shame us all. So that's why I said, you decide. I put the link in the description if you want to go and look up, different things about this young man to see what you think about it. I put it there, but let me just play just a little news clip. It's not long. And courtesy of Fox. I think because this is not YouTube, I have to keep the mic on so you guys can hear it. But I'm going to cut it off, and y'all let me know. Phil, if you still in here, let me know if
We have breaking news tonight at 10 o'clock. For the first time in 13 years, the state of South Carolina put a man to death. Freddie Owens was convicted in the murder of Irene Graves 25 years ago. And despite efforts by his legal team, Governor McMaster denied clemency, and the U.S. Supreme Court denied an emergency stay of execution. Owens died by lethal injection tonight. Fox Carolina's Justin Doherty was a media witness inside the execution chamber when it happened. Here's more from Columbia.
At 6:55 p.m. on Friday, September 20th, 2024, the case of South Carolina versus Freddie Owens was complete. I was one of 3 media witnesses there inside the execution chamber tonight, and the execution began at 6:35 p.m. That's when the curtains were drawn. Then he turned his head and examined the witness room. His attorney, seated directly in front of him, gave her a smile and started beginning to mouth words to her. Then at 6:36, the warden gave permission to proceed with the execution. At 6:37, he continued to stare at his attorney, gave her a soft smile, and said bye. Those would be his final words. He gave no official final statement, and then he lost consciousness about 2 minutes later at 6:38. There was no movement from Freddie Owens between 6:38 and 6:53. At that time, a physician entered the room, checked his pulse, and then declared him dead at 6:55. We were there to witness the sentence carried out because 46-year-old Freddie Owens was convicted of murder in 1997 for killing 41-year-old Irene Graves, single mom with 3 children. She was working as a store clerk at the old Speedway on Lawrence Road in Greenville that night. Co-defendants say that he was getting angry with her as she was taking too long to open the safe. This week, we were able to sit down with Irene Graves' daughter, Inslee. She tells us she has thought about the sentence being carried out, but just really doesn't know exactly what to say.
When I sit with my own thoughts, I have to thank the people who chose a fate for me, because I'm still dealing with the 10-year-old who didn't have a choice. So I'm grateful for those who thought enough of me to make the choice for me so I don't have to think of the day, because it wasn't me who got us here.
Inslee was not here tonight to witness this execution, but she does tell us that her husband and her oldest brother, Irene's oldest son, were there. They were seated just to my left. They stared at Freddie Owens until his death was final. In Columbia, Justin Doherty, Fox Carolina News.
I hope y'all heard that. Nobody told me that they didn't. So I hope y'all heard that news story. It was basically the story that I read. Now let's move on to Mr. Marcellus Williams. And I think what I'm going to do with Mr. Marcellus Williams, I'm going to start with his video and then I'll read his story. Because on CBS News, there is someone who's being interviewed. And again, under fair use, courtesy of CBS News, by Melissa Quinn, this was updated on September 25th, 2024 at 8:32 a.m. CBS News.
attorney, what they brought forward, and why this time around the Supreme Court was not swayed. The execution of a Missouri death row inmate is set to go ahead today after the state Supreme Court and the state's governor both rejected pleas to stop the procedure, despite prosecutors saying he may be innocent. 55-year-old Marcellus Williams is scheduled to be executed later today by lethal injection for the 1998 stabbing death of Lisha Gale Williams, and has maintained his innocence in the case. Or rather, Williams has maintained his innocence in the case. Attorneys for Williams still have an appeal out to the U.S. Supreme Court, though. Joining us now to discuss this is CBS News legal contributor Rebecca Roiphe. Rebecca, good morning. So this execution has actually been sort of pushed along kind of several times. Help us understand, though, what the arguments were from Marcellus's attorney, what they brought forward, and why this time around the Supreme Court was not swayed.
There were two arguments, Anne-Marie, that the lawyers made this time. The first one was that Marcellus did not receive a fair trial because the prosecutors wrongfully excluded a juror based on that juror's race. The second argument was that the prosecutors destroyed the only evidence that could possibly exculpate Marcellus in this case. And so those two arguments failed in the Missouri Supreme Court. What's left now is just one last chance with the U.S. Supreme Court.
I found it interesting sort of reading some of what the justices had to say, and some of their phrasing, maybe you can explain to me, but it was essentially, I see nothing here that would prove his innocence, which I thought was an interesting way to phrase it, because I thought it would be, I see nothing here that would, I don't know, somehow I thought that the phrasing would be different, but I guess at this point, the conclusion of the court is that he is guilty and you need evidence to prove otherwise.
Right. I mean, once somebody has been convicted, the jurors have decided, 12 jurors have decided that he's guilty of this crime, then, that presumption that we normally have that people are innocent shifts. That said, the idea that we might execute somebody who is potentially innocent is itself troubling. And I think that's what you're picking up on, the idea that there might be one possibility. And especially in a case like this, where there is, significant evidence that prosecutors themselves contributed to the loss of the only evidence that could exculpate this defendant, it's troubling. And that those prosecutors themselves have joined with the defendant's lawyers in an attempt to stay the execution is remarkable, and something that should give the courts pause here, I think, but have not.
Really quickly, any other options for him?
Well, he has one last option with the U.S. Supreme Court. He's asked for a stay of his execution based on that argument, the constitutional argument that the juror was wrongfully excluded due to race. We have not yet heard from the Supreme Court. He is scheduled to be executed, as you said, later today. So, we're waiting that last minute, the response to that last minute petition.
All right, Rebecca, thank you very much.
When your water or sewer line breaks, it's expensive.
Okay, that's the story, and again, it's down in the description, the link, if you want to go and read up on this, if you don't know about it. A lot of people don't know about it, and that's part of the problem. We're not talking about it. We're talking about things that I guess interest us, and we can't do anything about. But we can definitely participate in writing our Congress people and our state senators and state representatives on things of this nature. Because one of the things that they claimed was that the prosecutors destroyed some of the evidence. We're seeing where the prosecutors in the YSL trial are not turning in evidence timely, how some of the people that they're calling as experts are refurbishing, and I just don't know how you refurbish a notepad, but refurbishing notepads and don't know where their files are. They know they didn't destroy it. Normally they do destroy. So it's all kind of questionable things that are going on that we as the people can complain about. And it is strength in numbers. It really is. Even though one person can make a difference, it really is strength in numbers. So here it is. Missouri executes Marcellus Williams despite questions over evidence after Supreme Court denies final bid for a delay. The state of Missouri on Tuesday executed Marcellus Williams shortly after the U.S. Supreme Court rejected a request to delay the execution. The State Department of Corrections said he was pronounced dead at 6:10 p.m. CT. Williams, who had maintained his innocence in the 1998 stabbing death of Felicia Gale in a St. Louis suburb, was put to death by lethal injection. We hope this gives finality to a case that has languished for decades, said Missouri Department of Corrections Director Trevor Foley. And I guess the finality would be just the closing of the case. Because if Mr. Williams had family members, I'm sure it didn't give any finality to them other than the fact that when you're no longer here, that is final. And then the family members, I think they kind of wanted him not to be executed. But we'll find out more in the article, I believe. But St. Louis County prosecuting attorney Wesley Bell, who had sought to have the conviction overturned, said, "This outcome did not serve the interests of justice. Marcellus Williams should be alive today." That's a quote. Bell said in a statement, another quote, "There were multiple points in the timeline when decisions could have been made that would have spared him the death penalty. If there is even the shadow of a doubt of innocence, the death penalty should never be an option." Williams' son, Marcellus Williams Jr., and two of his attorneys witnessed the execution, according to Dana Reich at the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Missouri Department of Corrections Communications Director Karen Pogman noted no witnesses for Gale's family attended the execution. The family had previously said they opposed executing Williams. Williams appeared to be talking with the imam, who was with him in the chamber while awaiting execution. David Lieb of the Associated Press said, Lieb reported that following the injection, Williams wiggled his foot at one point and moved his head slightly. His chest heaved about a half dozen times and then stopped. CBS affiliate KMOV-TV reported Williams' last statement was, "All praise be to Allah in every situation." Earlier, efforts to halt the execution were denied Monday by the Missouri Supreme Court and Republican governor. And why they felt the need to put the Republican, they want you to understand this is all political, because there was really no need for them to say that if everybody know that voted for them that he was a Republican. Republican Governor Mike Parson. His execution is the third in Missouri this year, and among 5 taking place nationwide across a 7-day span, if all are carried out on schedule, according to the Death Penalty Information Center. And there is a center that you can look it up and see who is to be executed and who has been executed. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson said they would have granted the request to halt the execution. So we had 3 women that would have granted it. Tonight, Missouri will execute an innocent man. That's quote, said attorney Fisher Royo Bushnell of the Midwest Innocence Project in a statement after the Supreme Court ruling. The victim's family opposes his execution. Jurors who originally sentenced him to death now oppose his execution. The prosecutor's office that convicted and sentenced him to death has now admitted they were wrong and zealously fought to undo the conviction and save Mr. Williams' life. So they tried. Quote, that is not justice, and we must all question any system that would allow this to occur, Bushnell said, unquote. Williams had been faced with execution twice before following his 2001 conviction for the murder of Gail, a social worker and former reporter for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. First, in 2015, the Missouri Supreme Court halted execution plans and appointed a special master to review DNA testing on the handle of the murder weapon, the butcher knife that was used to jab Gail 43 times and was left lodged in her neck. Williams' attorney said DNA experts who reviewed the results determined that he was not the source of DNA found on the knife, but the special master sent the case back to the Missouri Supreme Court, and a second execution date was set for August 2017. Then, hours before Williams was set to be executed, then Governor Eric Greitens, and maybe that's how you pronounce that, Greitens, called it off and appointed a panel of 5 retired judges to investigate the DNA evidence. The board, however, was dissolved by Parsons in June of 2023 and never issued its final report. So I guess one was a Democrat and they didn't say that, but that implies that because they made it a purpose of saying the other was a Republican. Faced with the DNA evidence and other new information in Williams' case, prosecutor Wesley Bell sought to toss out the conviction on numerous grounds, including the results of the DNA testing and constitutional violations during the jury selection process. But the night before an evidentiary hearing was set to take place, Bell's office received new test results indicating DNA on the knife handle was consistent with that of a prosecutor who worked on Williams' case and a former investigator with the St. Louis County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. Williams' attorney said in a filing that the DNA results confirmed that they handled the knife without gloves, contaminating the evidence. With the DNA evidence spoiled, Williams and Bell, the prosecuting attorney, reached an agreement under which Williams would enter a no-contest plea to murder in the first degree with a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. Gail's family indicated they did not support executing Williams according to court filings, and in August, a judge signed off on the agreement. But Attorney General Andrew Bailey, a Republican, you see how whenever they're speaking about someone that they want you to know their political affiliation, they definitely point out the Republican. And it's amazing how they're doing that, because they're doing that just like they do when they speak to someone who's had a crime committed against them. When they talk about the perpetrator, they will always identify them as African American and Latino or Hispanic or native. But when it's a European American, they just say an American. So, these kind of things are play on words. And it's really to play for the public, because a lot of people are not interested in things if it doesn't happen to them. They have no concern for humanity, where they will make it a topic of conversation. I'm not saying people don't care about humanity, because I don't have that right. I don't know what people care about. But I'm talking about the actions of the people, because we can say anything, but it's our actions that really lets a person know who we are. It lets them know our character, our level of integrity and honesty, humbleness and arrogance. It's in what we do, not necessarily what we say, but tone can make a difference in any conversation. I want to thank the individual who just gave me a cash app. I will acknowledge you. I'm almost finished reading this article. I thank you very much. Okay, let me see. I was just reading that last line. Objected to the plea. Okay. The state Supreme Court went on to block the plan and ordered an evidentiary hearing on Williams' claims of innocence. During the proceedings last month, a trial attorney who tried the 2001 case said that he removed one black juror because he looked like Williams. When asked whether he struck the juror because of his race, the prosecutor, Keith Larner, said, no, absolutely not, according to court records. Larner said that he believed the jury, composed of 11 white people and one black person, was fair. And they say a jury of your peers. Now, it is fair if we was actually looking at people from a human perspective. But tell me how that's fair when we see Asiatic people as being 3/5 human to this day, less than human. How can that be fair? And 11 Europeans that have no connection to the Asiatic experience doesn't mean they couldn't come from the same poor urban developments. But even that experience is a different experience, because you have to take into account culture and customs, which of course ours was stolen and replaced with all of this craziness that we see today, where our men and women are at war with each other. We can't call each other by name. We always have to be a bitch, a hoe, or, bitch ass nigga. We can never just be man and woman and have a conversation as adults. It's really sad that we don't seem to get it. There is a reason that we do the things that we do, and it's not because we're trifling people. It's because we're unlearned people, and we're not willing to put in the work to learn how to change our tomorrow. See, everybody ain't gonna make it tomorrow. I can't even be guaranteed that I will. But what I do know, that we can hope for tomorrow and plan for tomorrow in the event that we live to see tomorrow. Because, life is not promised to any of us. And at any point in time, any of us could transition to the other side. But it's just really sad that we're not outraged about this. And again, some people see crime as, well, if you're a criminal, then I just can't have nothing else to do with you because, you're beyond help and healing. But everybody believes in second chances because they said that's what the Lord gave them, a second chance. Some people get 25,000 chances and still need 26 because they keep messing up. So we don't really understand the dynamics of why people make the decisions that they make. But one thing we do know is that that individual truly made that decision. And we do know that people can repent. At least we say we know and believe that people can repent and do something different. Unfortunately, in the criminal and justice system, you don't get too many chances to do that. Rarely do you get those opportunities. The prosecutor also acknowledged that he handled the murder weapon without gloves at least 5 times during witness preparation sessions before the trial, as he believed the investigation into Gail's killing was finished. But still, as a professional, should have never, ever given him a reason, being a trained professional prosecutor, to handle any evidence without tainting the evidence. So he knew he should have had on gloves. And the question is, if he thought that it was finished, why was he handling it 5 times? A good question that'll probably never get answered. At the end of the hearing, the St. Louis prosecuting attorney's office told the court that it conceded the constitutional error of mishandling evidence, quotation, in Williams' trial, and said clear and convincing evidence of numerous constitutional errors in his prosecution were presented. Still, on September 12th, the judge declined to toss out Williams' conviction and sentence. The Missouri Supreme Court then denied relief. In urging the Supreme Court to intervene, Williams' lawyers had asked the justices to wait until they have decided another death penalty case involving an Oklahoma inmate, which they said raises the same issues. The High Court is poised to hear arguments October 9th in Richard Glossop's effort to toss out his conviction due to concerns about the fairness of his trial. Quote, the ever-present undercurrent of residual doubt as to Mr. Williams' innocence plagues this case, even as his execution looms, unquote, his attorneys wrote in filing with the High Court. Quote, Mr. Williams' conviction and death sentence were secured through a trial riddled with constitutional errors, racism, and bad faith, much of which only came to light recently, unquote. They called his conviction a, quote, grave miscarriage of justice, and said executing him would be an unthinkable, irreversible travesty, unquote. Top officials in Missouri opposed the request to call off the execution, claiming that Williams has engaged in a strategy of extreme delay. That was quoted, a strategy of extreme delay. They say Williams participated in that. The convict, in bringing his claims and accusing him of attempting to, quote, manufacture another emergency through dilatory tactics, unquote. Quote, the state of Missouri, crime victims for whom the case goes on for decades without resolution, and the criminal justice system are all harmed by endless litigation of meritless claims, unquote, Bailey wrote in a filing with the Supreme Court. In a statement following the execution, attorneys Lawrence Kump and Lane Cardarella said, quote, it is hard to explain how admitted racial discrimination is ignored and never meaningfully addressed. It is hard to explain how a prosecutor can admit that he contaminated evidence his entire legal career, including for over a decade after the passage of a DNA statute designed to prevent the contamination of evidence, but nothing is done, unquote. It's a hard pill to swallow when these things happen. Quote, the hardest thing to explain and what we cannot understand is how rote application of a process to protect finality outweighs finding truth and achieving fairness, unquote, the lawyers added. Williams was charged more than a year after Gail's death. Prosecutors claimed that he broke into her home in University City, a suburb of St. Louis, and after hearing water running in the shower upstairs, found a butcher knife and waited. After Gail came down the stairs, William attacked and jabbed her 43 times, then left with her purse and husband's laptop, law enforcement officials said. Prosecutors said Williams also took a jacket that he used to conceal the blood on his shirt. His girlfriend later noticed that he was wearing a jacket despite the summer weather, and after he removed it, saw that Williams' shirt was bloody, according to court filings. He didn't see the cut. I guess he didn't have one. It was just somebody else's. Okay. The girlfriend also testified that she saw the laptop in the car and the purse in its trunk, and claimed Williams confessed to unaliving Gail, according to court records. Roughly 10 months after Gail's death, and after her family offered reward money, a man named Henry Cole, who was a cellmate with Williams when he was in jail on unrelated charges, claimed he confessed to murdering Gail, prosecutors said. Also, on Tuesday evening, Travis Mullis was executed in Texas for killing his 3-month-old son in 2008, marking the third of 5 executions scheduled within a week's time in the U.S. Jordan Freeman contributed to this report. So there you have it, y'all. We have a messed up system all over the land, and the people don't seem to be upset about it. And that's what's really sad about the whole situation, that people just don't care. If it doesn't directly affect them, it doesn't care. Yes, Ass, it's really sad. It's beyond sad. Come on now, if even the prosecutors are with the defendant, then I don't see how this isn't overturned. Yeah, it's a system that is heavily in place, and if we, the people, don't speak out and start exercising our constitutional rights, the First Amendment gives us the right to petition. We have the right to complain to the people that we call our government. And if we don't do that, then we're doing a disservice to the people. Because today it's them, but who knows when it could be you or someone that you love. Because as we can see with a lot of these trials that's going on, and it's a lot of different trials that's going on all day, every day. Some people just love trials. So I thank anybody that come by when I'm talking about the trials and subscribe and listen. I greatly appreciate you. If you return, I appreciate it. If you don't, I thank you for the time that you were here. But I like to just do different things because I'm trying to, somewhere in my little crazy way of thinking, want to believe I'm making some type of difference by letting people know the things that they may not hear readily every day. Putting it in somebody's mind, who knows, who may take what they hear and become great by hearing it and start investigating for themselves, researching, and then speaking out. You never know who. And you never know whose voice will make that difference. Let it be yours. I'm certainly going to use mine to speak out for justice the best I can. And as I stated in the beginning of this video, I've kind of been away because I had several losses actually, but one very great loss, a brilliant legal mind. Wasn't an attorney. But one thing he used to always say, you got to look up that statute. And he called it a statute. And I guarantee you, if you look up the statute, it will tell you some things. It will tell you which direction to go and what to do. So no, I'm not an attorney and I'm not a lawyer. I don't give legal advice. But I read it and I use it to help advocate for others. And I wish that we would do more of that for ourselves and do it as a family. Assign different words to people or different statutes, and let's ask them to let's say a month and do research on it, and let's come together as a family and see what we all see the same thing, or what do we get out of it. That's one way we can help one another. It's so many ways. It's just like on a job when they have team building projects. There's so many ways you can rebuild a family if the people are willing. But what I found, most people aren't willing. They would love to remind you of the things that they feel you did to them, but the things that they did to you, they just minimize that, and it's not as bad as you think. And I didn't mean that when I said it, and the tone of my voice was not really that. I think you're exaggerating, and you're doing things to me that I wouldn't do to a stranger. And we have all the lines because we all have family and we all go through things. So it's very, very hard to expect a nation of people to come together to resolve our issues when we can't even as family sit down and resolve issues, feel the pain and move through it. Again, acknowledgement, acceptance, and action. Once you accept something to be true or to be false, you've made that decision on that, and you don't need to ponder on it. Doesn't mean you can't talk about it, because trust me, I talk about anything I choose to, no matter how painful or happy I was. It's just kind of how I tell a story, and it helps me get through the day. But when I make a decision to accept it, there's nothing I can do. So I have to live in that. And it's not always a good feeling. Sometimes it's painful. But I keep living and smiling and moving forward anyway. Because at any point in time, any of us cannot wake up. And as of today, there are some things in my life that I would have done differently, but I have no regrets. None. But there are some things that I would have done differently had I known better. Quite a few things. But I'm grateful for the experiences that I had, because it helped me to be the me that you guys get to hear and the me that I live with every day. And it's a beautiful life. Doesn't always feel good, but it's a beautiful life. And it goes in a circle. Life is a cycle. It goes round and round and round. So on that note, that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. There are other things that I want to talk about, but I get to thinking, maybe sometimes I talk about too many things in one video, and that may overwhelm the people. So I want to thank the people that have stayed with me, and hope that everybody that came through hit the like button. Let me thank, I had 2 Cash Apps. Let me thank you for my Cash Apps properly. You guys know who you are, and I thank you. And on that note, I'm going to leave out with my favorite song, Our Future. And we're failing them. I want y'all to know that. We're not doing them a great service. Let's do better. Until next time, I'm leaving the Tiger's Den. Goodbye. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us who we used to be. Everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone to fulfill my needs. A lonely place to be. So I learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I failed, if I succeed, at least I'll live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity, because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And if by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of takes you to a lonely place, find yourself in love.